Two blasts in 2 days. Terror strikes Eastleigh again.
Mimi siogopi nomination. Tuende nomination, watu watuchague, waseme ni wewe Uhuru au ni wewe Musalia. Tumeelewana?
Mara ile nyingine mlinituma, nilienda nikang'ang'ana na Goliath. Sio? Simuliona vile ilikuwa. Nikasema sasa natarudi tena. Nikupambana na watoto wa Goliath.
Drumming support, Cord and Jubilee woo voters. Stars deemed, Uganda lifts the Kafa trophy. Uhuru na Kazi, the real Jubilee generation stands up. Many thanks for joining us. I'm Linda Ogutu. Now, police have arrested 20 suspects in connection with two blasts which occurred in Nairobi's Eastleigh estate, including last night's attack that killed 5 people. Several people, including Kamukunji Member of Parliament Yusuf Hassan, were last night injured in an explosion in the sprawling estate. And as KTN's Wilkis Tanyabo reports, security has been beefed up in the area and a security operation to flush out more suspects is underway.
Motorists headed to Nairobi's Eastleigh estate were greeted by a roadblock manned by police officers. Officers rigorously inspecting the contents and the passengers of vehicles headed into Eastleigh. Meters away, a GSU truck patrolled the area. Residents reported that officers on board had gone from door to door in sections of the estate, asking them to produce their identity cards. Those who were unable to produce proof of identification were hauled away. These exercises conducted against the backdrop of a calm Eastleigh, one far removed from the chaos that reigned on Friday night. Shortly after 8 p.m. on Friday, an explosive was hurled into a mosque. It would explode, injuring at least 15 people, among them Kamukunji Member of Parliament Yusuf Hassan. 3 people died on Friday, while 2 more succumbed to their injuries on Saturday, bringing the death toll to 5. At least 6 others are recuperating in hospital.
Ni kitu imefanyika hapo hapo. Yaani ni kama grenade. Kama grenade aina kama hiyo. Kitu ile inaribuka hapo kwa hapo. Inarushwa na inaribuka. Si kama zile zingine inawekwa kisha mtu anaenda kulipua. Akiwa mbali kidogo.
Shortly after the blast, riots broke out as rowdy youth roamed the streets, seeking to flush out those they claimed were behind the attacks.
Hatutaki vita, hatutaki tugombane na majirani zetu, hatutaki tukosane na watu, tunataka amani. Waliofanya KDF iende kule Somalia hawako Eastleigh. Mpahali wako inajulikana.
The youth engaged the police in running battles and lit fires in street corners. The police responded by firing tear gas canisters, eventually managing to disperse the crowds. But long after the protesters had retired, police officers patrolled the streets of Eastleigh, alert to any signs of trouble. In the light of day, Eastleigh estate appearing to have shaken off the events of the previous night, with traders going about their business, but entrepreneurs say the threat of attacks has frightened away their clientele.
Sasa hata sisi wafanyabiashara tunakaa tukiogopa kwa sababu hujajua ule mtu hata unauzia ama mtu anapita kwa barabara na kina nani. Na hii mlipuko inaweza lipukia mahali popote, hata wewe kama mfanyabiashara ikudhuru wewe mwenyewe.
The incident comes just days after a blast occurred in Eastleigh's Joska area, killing 1 person and injuring 7 others. Only a month ago, an improvised explosive device went off in a bus, killing 10 passengers. Wilkis Anyabwa, KTN, Saturday night.
KTN's Wilkis Anyabwa reporting on the scenario as it is in Eastleigh. Our security personnel try to bring normalcy back to Eastleigh and end this spate of insecurity that has been witnessed in the last couple of weeks, in the last couple of days in that area. While it's barely 3 months to the general election, let's focus now on politics, and Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta has moved to forestall an imminent fallout in his central Kenya support base following a decision to have him battle out with UDF's Musalia Mudavadi for the Jubilee Coalition presidential ticket. Uhuru has told his supporters to support whoever wins the nominations. This came as Uhuru's ally, William Ruto, said the nomination of the alliance's candidate would be free and fair. KTN's Eric Njoka reports.
With his entourage of Minister Naomi Shaban and other members of parliament drawn from Central Coast, Nyanza and Northeastern regions, Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta traversed Kiambu County en route to his constituency, Gatondo South, where he was destined to register as a voter. Speaking when he addressed crowds in Kiambu, Roiro and Gatondo, Uhuru said he would respect the coalition's choice of presidential candidate after the nomination exercise.
Tuende nomination, watu watuchague, waseme ni wewe Uhuru au ni wewe Musalia. Tumeelewana? Wakisema ni Musalia, sisi tutamuunga mkono. Shida iko wapi? Si ni Mkenya? Na sisi wengine tupatiwe nafasi yetu.
Separately in Narok, Eldoret North Member of Parliament William Ruto refuted claims that the coalition was based on tribal groupings, emphasizing that its main agenda will be to preach peace and unity to all Kenyans. Ruto said the URP, TNA and UDF coalition would support who emerges winner between Uhuru Kenyatta and Musalia Mudavadi in the nomination for the presidential ticket.
Na kuna kikundi ingine ya wazee wa kitendawili na katikati. Sasa mtajiamulia wenyewe kama mtaenda upande ile ama mtakuja upande wa Jubilee.
A section of TNA members of parliament had threatened to walk out of Uhuru's party should Uhuru step down for Musalia Mudavadi. During his tour of Kiambu, Uhuru told supporters to support whoever wins the nominations.
Wengine wanasema ya kwamba ati tukiungana vile tumeungana sisi ni wakabila. Na wauliza, Mheshimiwa William Ruto si ni Mkenya? Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi si ni Mkenya? Mimi je, ni Mkenya au aje? Sisi zote ni wa Kenya.
The TNA URP rallies comes just a day after Prime Minister Raila Odinga's National Delegates Conference, where the Premier stated that he is ready to challenge his rivals come March 4th. This is Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta's first in a series of rallies in his constituency after the signing of a coalition pact. He still maintains that his rivals are up for a challenge come nomination. Eric Njoka, KTN, Gatondo South.
So while Uhuru was in Kiambu, Prime Minister Raila Odinga took his campaigns to Western Kenya in a bid to tame the influence of his rival Musalia Mudavadi. Just a day after being nominated ODM presidential candidate, Raila staged a campaign to sell the CORD alliance in a campaign choreographed to eclipse Musalia Mudavadi, who is being touted as his fierce rival on a Jubilee coalition ticket. The PM exuded confidence that CORD will trounce Jubilee Alliance in next year's poll. KTN Sam Ogina reports on Raila's latest forays.
After being crowned ODM's presidential candidate, Prime Minister Raila Odinga hit the campaign trail storming Western region for a two-day tour. Raila's brief to upset rival Jubilee coalition presidential hopeful Musalia Mudavadi's Western support base.
Kwa sababu alipoenda huko hakuambia anaenda wapi na anaenda kutafuta nini huko. Na alikuwa na nafasi hapa kwetu ambako tuko. Siri yake ilikuwa aende huko ndiye achukue kura ya Mheshimiwa Raila. Hakuenda huko apate kura kuwa president wa nchi hii.
Raila met the Wangaluya elders to seek their blessings and support for the top seat, and after the ritual, the PM made forays traversing Butere and Mumias districts to sell the CORD alliance alongside Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula. Addressing a rally at Huisero grounds, the PM projected the CORD alliance as the alliance to beat, exuding confidence of clinching the presidency.
Jamii ya Mlembe, lazima tujue tuungane na Wakenya wengine ndio tuweze kutengeneza serikali ijayo. Mambo ya kutembea tembea hapa na kusema shenyu ni shenyu, na kule kwingine unadanganywa, wewe unasaliti jamii yetu.
Ile timu ya Barcelona pale ambayo kuna Iniesta, pale ambayo kina Fabregas, pale ambayo kina Messi. Sawa sawa, tunataka kupata ushindi dakika 90 kikwisha namna hii 90 minutes tumemaliza mchezo. Hakuna extra time.
It was a euphoric reception for Raila and the CORD alliance in Deputy Prime Minister Musalia Mudavadi's backyard. The team claims it is poised to tilt the scales and zone out the western region into an exclusive CORD alliance region. Raila was emphatic that next year's polls will be a repeat of 2002 election that pitted NAC against KANU.
The forces of progress, the forces of change, versus the forces of retrogress and conservatism.
Mara ile ingine mlinituma, nilienda nikang'ang'ana na Goliath. Sio? Simuliona vile ilikuwa? Kasema sasa natarudi tena nikupambana na watoto wa Goliath.
To show up the numbers, Raila urged those with waiting cards and old ID cards to register as voters. But as the CORD alliance is cranking up its campaign to zone out western region, Justice Minister Eugene Wamalwa and Lugari MP Cyrus Jirongo, who together form the Pambazuko Alliance, are staging a rebellion against both the CORD and Jubilee Alliance in Western. Despite Raila making advances to the Justice Minister to join the CORD, Eugene remains non-committal on joining either.
Wale mmekuwa mnauliza Wamalwa, will you go up the mountain or will you go down the lake? And I want to tell you today, I'll neither go up the mountain or go down the lake. I will go forward, and that's what I intend to do.
It is very clear to you which leaders are going to cut personal deals and which leaders from this region are interested in the welfare of their people and the people of the Republic of Kenya. It is now very clear.
The two Luhya leaders accused Deputy Prime Minister Musalia Mudavadi and Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula of betraying the Luhya unity. They said the two leaders backtracked from a unity deal that was nearing conclusion.
Huo mkataba ulipewa Mheshimiwa Mudavadi, Mheshimiwa Wetangula, Mheshimiwa Jirongo, Mheshimiwa Wamalwa. Lakini wakati tumefika kipindi cha lala salama, kabla masaa 24 kuisha, kabla Disemba tarehe 4, inaonekana kuna wenzetu ambao labda walipata mawazo mengine, na kuna wale walipanda mlima na kuna wale walishuka kwenda wapi.
Raila steps up his western political vigil tomorrow as he tours the Kakamega region to sell his candidature and pitch for the CORD alliance. Samogina, KTN Saturday Night.
All right, so with the heightened political activity in the country, churches across the country have come together to usher in Kenya's Year of Jubilee. As the country draws closer to the 49th Jamhuri Day celebrations, the churches say the year is significant and have kicked off nationwide prayers. Several church leaders who converged at the Nyayo Stadium said the church will not endorse any presidential candidate ahead of the coming general election.
Led by the administration police band, Christians in Nairobi marched into and around Nyayo National Stadium, marking the beginning of the biblical Year of Jubilee celebrations. Members of different churches converged here to pray for the country as it prepares for the 49th year of independence.
At the close of the 49th year, all the trumpets were blown and all the slaves were set free.
The faithfuls repented on behalf of the nation and made prayers of thanksgiving and peace ahead of the general election.
We have taken a neutral stand to pray for our leaders and the politicians, and therefore you have not heard the church endorse anybody.
Well, the church stands on Acts 1:24, where it says, God, who knows the hearts of all men, show us which one of these. The alliances are political. politicians will play political games, and the church will play the church game. And the church game is to pray.
Come the next general election, the church leaders say they will preach peace to their congregations and want politicians to do the same in rallies.
What we ask in Kenyans, though, is to respect the opinions of others.
And so the Jubilee celebrations are set to continue throughout the 49th year of Kenya's independence until the nation turns 50 next year.
Well, let's turn our focus once again to politics and its implications. Proponents of the Uhuru-Ruto alliance are positioning the Axis as a means to reconcile communities in Rift Valley, especially the Kalenjin and the Kikuyu. The two have witnessed violence almost every election year. The alliance has drawn mixed reactions throughout the province. And as KTN's Mercy Kandia now reports, some believe the alliance will heal the wounds, but some think it's all about the two leaders.
It is harvesting season at the Kiambaa village in Uasin Gishu County, the village considered a hotspot during the post-election violence, now collecting itself from a dark past. 60-year-old Beatrice Wanjiru hopes that the season will bring more than just a good harvest. Peace is what she hopes for more than anything else, she tells me. Last political season, she lost her husband at the height of the violence.
Kaburi yake iko pale. Hivi, hapa hivi ukiangalia pale, ndio iko.
Those whose houses were burnt have since rebuilt. What she hears from her radio today is good, she tells me. The new alliance between TNA and URP parties, she says, is good for them, at least for now.
Wafanye pamoja sababu usikilizano ni mzuri na upendo.
What they've experienced, they say, is good for the next generation to learn to live together. We visit yet another village, Burnt Forest. Activities are mainly along the main highway that was impassable during the violence in 2008. This is its new face, a cosmopolitan area whose residents are taking steps to a peaceful tomorrow.
Tushikane kwa roho, tushikane juu ya chama. Juu tushikane kwa chama na roho hakuna ubinadamu.
Cornelius Korir, the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Eldoret, says the move to have two communities work together started before the TNA-URP alliance was formed.
The Gikuyu community sent Gema to meet me here in the office.
Bishop Korir has spearheaded various peace campaigns in the North Rift, uniting the multi-ethnic Eldoret town since the 1992 clashes.
Once you have these two groups meeting and dialogue, you don't expect the violence.
A popular Dutch philosopher once said that peace is not an absence of war. It is a virtue, a state of mind, a disposition of benevolence, confidence and justice.
The residents of Eldoret town, especially the ones we talk to, have different opinions concerning the new alliances. One thing is common, however. All of them want peace as the country gears towards the next general election. Mercy Kandia reporting for KTN at Eldoret town in the county of Uasin Gishu.
Right, the Minister for Education, Mutula Kilonzo, says the ongoing conflict in some parts of the country could be managed better through education. Speaking at a workshop on conflicts and education, the minister said an educated population is a more understanding and rational one and hence would appreciate the benefits of peaceful coexistence. He added that the conflicts are having a negative impact on the educational sector in the affected areas and needs to be managed in a better way.
Adoption of conflict-sensitive education policies would make the sector a powerful force for enhancing peace, social cohesion, and promoting human dignity.
Let's cross borders. Former South African President Nelson Mandela has been admitted to a Pretoria hospital, reportedly for routine checkup. According to the Office of the President, Mandela is undergoing tests consistent with old age and is doing well. The frail, iconic leader who turned 94 in July has not appeared in public since South Africa's Football World Cup final in 2010. Rumors of his failing health flared up periodically, forcing the government to issue statements assuring the world that all is well. In January 2011, he was treated for a serious chest infection. Mandela was last hospitalized in February this year for a minor exploratory procedure to investigate persistent abdominal pain. The 1993 Nobel Peace Prize winner spent more than 2 decades in jail under the white minority apartheid regime and served as South Africa's first black president between 1994 and 1999. Thanks for staying with us this far. Of course, this being a Saturday, we have a series of features lined up for you, and this is one of them. Our continuing series, Mother Too Soon, turns its focus to Murang'a tonight. A consultant gynecologist, Dr. Jane Kagea, has teamed up with like-minded people to set up homes for pregnant teenagers in every county. Popularly referred to as Kiota, the first such home is in Murang'a, where 32 girls have found refuge and had their babies there before being reintegrated into the society. Here now is part 3 of Mother Too Soon with Anne Soy Mwendia.
This is the rural home of Daniel and Jen Chege in Murang'a County. The family lives in Nairobi and has offered their rural home to be used as a nest, literally. This 15-year-old girl I'll identify as Anne is the newest addition to the nest. She's 4 months pregnant. Anne and other expectant girls have found a refuge here where they live until they deliver. Then they'll return home after reconciling with their families or give up their babies for adoption. This concept is called Kiota, Swahili for a nest. It is a chilly afternoon in Murang'a, and the girls here, soon to be mothers, are just getting ready to have lunch. Their age ranges from 12 to 22, and they come from different parts of the country. Most have escaped difficult circumstances at home, some harsh parents who refuse to accept that their daughters got pregnant young. After the lunch, I sit down with Anne, who tells me her story.
This year I was supposed to go to Form 1, I was supposed to join Form 1. So is when I realized that I'm pregnant.
Were you in a relationship?
Yeah, I have been in a relationship for 2 years.
And had you considered maybe contraception or something like that? Condoms?
Yeah. Before we used to use that, but this year is when I messed up.
What would you like to tell other girls who are your age, given your experience now? How do you feel now that you're expectant?
Anyway, me, I don't regret for being pregnant because I know child is a gift from God, but I can like to advise those girls out there. Sex before marriage is not good.
Would you like to go back to school?
Yeah, that's why I'm here. After that, go back to school. I'm really gonna work hard.
What about your baby? Would you like to keep the baby?
Yeah. I'm going to keep my baby. Because one of my friends told me when I was still in Kibera to abort because I was supposed to go to school this year. Even the boy told me to abort. But I lied to him that it's too late to abort.
Who's going to take care of your baby?
That friend of mine told me after birth they take my child somewhere, then I'll go back to school, but I'll be seeing my child, so they'll help me to take care of the child.
After lunch, the girls and their caretaker mothers sit down to do some beadwork. For the number of months they'll be here, the girls will learn many skills with the hope that they'll become more responsible young parents. Most importantly, they receive antenatal care and deliver with the help of skilled midwives to minimize the chance of complications and, worse still, death. Pastor Charles Nganga comes here often to offer counseling. Kiota is designed to be a community project where members living near each Kiota contribute whatever they can to make life better for the young mothers. The girls do most of the chores around the Kiota, including planting vegetables for subsistence. This is the pilot project.
Thank you.
The founder, Dr. Jane Kagia, hopes to get volunteers in every constituency who can give homes in which girls can turn to when they become pregnant. In this way, the consultant gynecologist hopes she can prevent abortions, including health complications and deaths that may result.
An unplanned pregnancy is a social problem. It's not medical. And if we can, as a society, embrace these girls and help to have them loved, accepted, counseled, and deliver safely, eventually they'll be able to go on with their life.
A study conducted in 2005 showed that about 21,000 women were admitted in public hospitals in Kenya with abortion-related complications. Out of these admissions, 182 succumbed to the complications. This is no doubt just the tip of the iceberg. The statistics fail to capture those who go to private hospitals and clinics and those who just never make it to hospital for post-abortion care. According to the World Health Organization, some 16 million girls give birth every year worldwide. WHO estimates that 3 million girls aged between 15 and 19 procure unsafe abortions every year. The Kenyatta National Hospital Ward 1D is probably the largest facility in Kenya caring for post-abortion cases.
The right things to do.
Dr. John Ongech, the head of reproductive health here, says the ward receives about 80 cases a month. Many of them are complicated.
It would vary from some uterus being perforated through intestines, perforated until people have bled to shock. So we have had people dying. We've had people then, because of this shock bleeding, they end up in kidney failure. Then we have had a situation where we have to remove a uterus of an 18-year-old is rotten. They had put instruments there, which is rotten, or the intestines have gotten rotten, so we have to do what is called colostomy.
Dr. Ongech says that doctors working in Ward 1D often retrieve strange, sharp objects from the patients, including pens and knitting needles.
You could find any metallic objects there. You could find pieces of woods inside there. You could find anything. We've seen anything you can imagine up there, including pieces of clothes and everything put up there.
Proponents of abortion argue that it is better to offer safe abortion in mainstream health facilities to avert deaths resulting from backstreet or self-induced abortion. But the pro-abortion school of thought has often opposed, on the grounds of morality and religion, the premise on which Dr. Kagia established the Kiota.
When the church comes in the middle, by coming up with a rescue home, a temporary rescue home, you give the parents time to cool down, you give the girl counseling and time to cool down, and when the baby comes, you put them two together, and that is called reconciliation.
Join me, Anso Mwendia, in the fourth part of this series as we go back to Marinyin Secondary School in Kericho. In the year 2009, this school, Marinyin Secondary, made headlines for all the wrong reasons. All girls except one had dropped out of a class here, apparently because of pregnancy-related issues.
Revelations there, KTN's Ansoi Mwendia with one woman's quest to help pregnant teenagers. Let's focus now on your health. It's not uncommon that after a long day of hard work, many opt to converge in groups for a session of nyama choma and beer drinking just to relax and bond with their friends. However, for some, indulging in nyama choma is more the exception than the rule. Tonight on Healthy You, Malaki Villa tells you why gout is often the next issue that the habitual nyama choma lover has to deal with.
Choma evenings are an integral part of the Kenya lifestyle, where friends and colleagues love to mull over the events of the day while chewing on succulent morsels of freshly roasted nyama, preferably washed down with a cold beer.
Kabisa. Mimi nakulanga hata ile menona kabisa. Napenda ile nono. Hata familia yangu wenyewe wanapenda kula nyama.
Testament to the time-honored nyama choma outings are so famous here. Charles Mwangitu loves a good grilling himself. He owns a nyama choma joint in Nairobi's Kenyatta Market. He's been in the business for 25 years and has no complaints. Charles says his customers start streaming in as early as 5 p.m. on weekdays and 11 a.m. on weekends.
Hapa masaa biashara na kuanzia saa 5 kuendelea mpaka saa 8. Watu wanapungua kidogo saa 9 hivi. Sasa masaa ya jioni tena tunaendelea mpaka saa 2.
However, what many tend to forget is that one bite too many can wreak havoc on one's health, and gout, which is a type of arthritis, often lurks around the corner.
Myth and the non-story about nyama choma and beer, and that's actually one of the causes of gout, because of increased purine in this diet. And as we know, also our own body produces purine from the breakdown of cells. So what actually causes gout is increase in these purines within our body or from the diet that eventually leads to increase in the uric acid. And this uric acid gets deposited in the joints in the body or other parts of the body. And this actually leads to gout.
Dr. Itau also states that gout manifests itself in the human body in different ways, which present themselves in cycles of 3 to 5 days.
The commonest symptom of gout is pain in the big toe. Usually it will be somebody when they go to bed, they're waking up in the middle of the night or early in the morning and their big toe is very painful. But other joints can be involved, like the knees, the elbows, the wrists, and one wakes up with very severe pains in these joints. And these attacks usually will be will last like 3 to 5 days, and the person is okay after that. But at times one may get many of these sort of attacks, and at times one may get swellings behind the ear or behind the elbows or other parts of the hand or the feet.
Gout is infamous as the disease of kings. This largely because it results from the kind of overindulgence in food and alcohol that only the rich and powerful can afford. But that's not true. According to Dr. Itau, gout can affect anyone and its risk factors vary.
If your parent has gout, then you have a high risk of gout. Some medication that the doctor will prescribe, like the water tablets, the diuretics, or junior aspirin that people commonly take to prevent heart disease, or some people who are on transplant medications, certain tablets, may actually predispose them to getting gout.
And avoiding gout, he says, comes down to what you put on the table.
One should avoid red meats because red meat has high purines in them and increase your uric acid levels of whatever form, cooked red meat or roasted or whatever. The other bits in the diet to avoid yeast-containing products, beer and whiskeys. These are bad because they increase the uric acid. Because they have high, eventually in their breakdown they increase the uric acid in the blood and therefore increase the risk for getting gout. The other bit is ingestion of matumbo actually also increases the risk, or increases your uric acid and increases the risk for gout.
Medics reveal that men are more predisposed to gout than women because the estrogen hormone in women tends to protect them from gout. However, that doesn't mean that women can pile on nyama choma because once they get to menopause, they too, just like men, can easily get gout.
It is true that women before their menopause have less degree of gout than men, and this is thought to be the protective effect of estrogen. But this effect is actually lost in women who, after they, when they are postmenopausal, and they have actually a similar risk of developing gout as men.
But this disease can be treated.
Gout is one of the few arthritis which we have fully understood it, and its treatment is very clear, and it has a very good outcome. If somebody takes the medication as prescribed, then the outcome of this gout is very good.
Gout is a reality that only you can control.
You probably are taking your supper right now, but just take a second and have a look at your meal's composition. Is there red meat? Is red meat a must-have component in your daily meals? Well, if that's the case, why not consider having a change? Let's keep gout away. Mala Kivila, Healthy You, Nairobi.
Now, Kenya will mark its 49th year of independence on Thursday, and many will be looking back on how much they have made or left as the nation turns a new leaf. Dr. John Changat, who is a senior lecturer at Moi University, was born on the 12th of December 1963. He may not be rich or famous, but Changat represents millions of Kenyans who have made it in life despite having so little to begin with. KTN's Catherine Omwanto now begins our series of reports to mark 49 years of independence.
The sun peers through the trees at Dr. John Changat's home in Eldoret town. The freshly cut lawn and the modest house an indication that this is the home of a self-made man. What is unique about Changat is that he will be celebrating his birthday with the nation.
When I asked my mother, when was I born, he actually said, on the same day this country achieved independence, though she had a note she had placed somewhere. And it has really assisted us because, people who did not go to school cannot keep records. But it is 12/12/1963. It's a wonderful year for me. I think we are the Uru generation.
Despite being born into a free nation, Changat was also born into poverty, and his parents, who had never seen the inside of a classroom or learnt to read words of a book, were determined to have their son live a different life.
I have quite a number of factors that contributed to where I am today. One is the motivation and encouragement given by my mother when I was in primary school. She's one lady who will always talk of, you must have a degree. In fact, even my children will tell you, Gogo says, degree, 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 that's what she sings.
But it was no easy journey, and Changat experienced his fair share of failures and disappointments.
We worked so hard, then later on joined Simoto High School for my A-levels. From there again, I was not able to get the cutoff mark to join the university.
By this time, Changat was the most educated in his family despite missing a place in university. Most would have left it at that, but not Changat. He did the best he could until finally an opportunity came knocking.
I joined Seriba Teachers College where I trained as a teacher because I felt I had a calling as a teacher. Until around 1992, the Minister of Education then said that diploma teachers should go back to primary school, and I was affected because I was now supposed to go to I actually reported to primary school. I taught in primary school, but one day a window opened for me where in Moi University there was something known as mature entry for people who are mature with diploma in education.
Incidentally, Changat graduated with a doctorate in history the same year he says Kenya achieved her best.
And I think the most memorable event that I would talk about today in Kenya is the fact that in 2010, August on 27th, something wonderful happened in this country, and that was the promulgation of the new constitution.
Now a senior lecturer and the head of the education department at Moi University, Changat is giving others like him the power to read, and consequently the power to be the best they can be.
Dr. Changat represents millions of Kenyans who were never born with a silver spoon in their mouths, and yet they took the little that they had to be the best that they could be. After all, this is the Kenyan spirit. Catherine Omwanto, KTN in Nairobi.
And now to a competition at sea. It is a contest that is held every November and pits experienced participants against those who come armed with nothing but their enthusiasm. One such entrant, our own Wilkis Tanyabwa. Take a look.
The fishing season is on in Watamu, and these tourists have traveled thousands of miles to take part in the annual deep sea fishing competition. Little vessels ferry them to the boats anchored away from the shore. Kilometers into the water, the fishing begins in earnest. On this day, the fishing teams are employing a method called trolling. The crew baits the fishing lines with fake fish which act as lures that are drawn through the water as the boat moves slowly, waiting for the fish to bite. The crew tells us patience is paramount, and it is not long before the crew reels in the first catch. Shortly afterwards, the alley cat reels in another fish. The pressure is now on for the Bamara and her crew. As soon as the fish bites, a crew member reels it in, while another uses a hook to spear it and pull it into the boat, a yellowfin tuna.
Moving through the waters at high speed, trolling for fish is exciting enough, but the best part of going deep sea fishing must be catching a big, heavy lunch.
Each fishing crew in the tournament hopes to catch the big five of the fishing fraternity: the striped marlin, the blue marlin, the black marlin, the sailfish and the broadbill swordfish.
And if you catch 3 in one trip here, it's called a Grand Slam. If you catch 4 different ones in one trip, it's called a Super Slam. And if you catch 5, which has only been done 2 or 3 times in the world, in one trip, that's the Fantasy Slam, because nobody thought it could ever be done. But it's been done off Watamu.
For conservation purposes, any fish caught is marked with plastic tags and then released back into the water.
And when that fish is caught again somewhere else and the tag is recovered, we can tell exactly how far it's gone and how long it took to get there and what actual size it ended up being.
Today, finding the prized big five is proving tricky, and the fishermen are content to return to shore with the edible fish. They are weighed, and their owners take pride in catching the biggest fish. But regardless of the weight of the catch, in this tournament, points are only awarded to those who manage to capture any of the big five. At the end of the tournament, Jackson Safari, whose crew caught 9 sailfish, was pronounced the winning skipper. His win the result of 18 years of experience. As the day ends, the winners and the losers cast aside the spirit of competition and dine together on the fish they caught. For 19 years, the fishing competition has drawn tourists to these shores, and next year they shall return to try their luck once more. Wilkis Anyabwa, KTN in Malindi.